Trying to choose between the Honda CR-V and Toyota RAV4 is kind of like choosing between pho and ramen, because both are amazing, but it really comes down to personal preference. So because I don't like it when things get a little too boring around here, I am going to attempt to do just that. After comparing the 2026 Honda CR-V against the 2026 Toyota RAV4, I'm going to pick a winner. And seeing as both of these cars are basically the gold standard of compact SUVs, this one's going to be like super hard to do. So let's get into it. The current 6th generation Honda CR-V debuted in 2022 and continues to impress the MotorTrend staff with handsome styling and good trunk space. In particular, we love the modern and elegant interior design, which offers a good mix of buttons and dials in addition to the touchscreen, which we do consider rather small for 2025. Still, the cabin is simple yet undistracting. This is the hybrid sport touring, so it uses a 2-liter inline-4 and 2 electric motors to produce 204 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque. Front-wheel drive is standard, but seeing as this is the top-tier sport touring trim, there's all-wheel drive. Fuel economy for this car is rated at 40 miles per gallon in the city and 34 miles per gallon on the highway. Starting MSRP for this 2026 Honda CR-V Sport Touring Hybrid all-wheel drive comes to $43,700. For a car that just goes without fuss or frills, the CR-V has been many buyers' top pick. But what makes this comparison very interesting is the fact that we're facing the CR-V Hybrid off against the all-new Toyota RAV4. As the best-selling SUV in the US for many, many years in a row, the new RAV4 will be difficult to usurp, and it has an advantage the Honda doesn't. Now, all RAV4s, regardless of trim, come with a hybrid powertrain as standard, signaling a focus towards a more modernized lineup. Beyond the tuner hot hatch looks, the RAV4 comes with a larger screen that now houses some of the climate controls, and generally seems more rugged inside. There are a ton of cubbies in different shapes, but it remains the spacious 5-seater SUV everyone knows. From its 2.5-liter 2-motor inline-4, this RAV4 Limited all-wheel drive makes 236 total system horsepower, which is a fair bit more than the CR-V Hybrid. Toyota estimates its fuel economy to be 44 miles per gallon in the city and 39 on the highway, also an improvement over the CR-V Hybrid. Toyota hasn't provided specific pricing for the RAV4 Limited, but it did say to expect the low 30,000s for the front-drive hybrid models, which is the new standard base model. By comparison, the outgoing base standard front-drive RAV4 started at $31,250, and obviously you did not get a hybrid with that one. Seeing as the RAV4 is the reigning king of compact SUVs, and being much newer than the CR-V, we're curious to see just how the Honda will be able to hold its own. Kicking things off, we are in the Honda CR-V, and as a personal note, I am currently daily driving a Civic Hybrid. I left that car at home, and I got right into this CR-V, which I had never driven before, and everything was like I had just left it. I mean, they basically took the interior out of the Civic and put it in the CR-V, and there is power in that kind of consistency. If you're a Honda driver and you're plugged into the Honda universe, the CR-V fits you like a glove. As a cohesive package, the CR-V drives like a very neutral Honda. Inoffensive, gets the job done. But what is surprising though is on the curvier roads, it is shockingly fun. It keeps up with you despite being a hybrid compact crossover. There's actually some spunk in this chassis, and you need to like poke it a little bit to find it. I was able to take the CR-V out on some pretty nasty public roads today, and the CR-V, yeah, you could obviously feel that it was going over rough pavement, but it mitigated those bumps in a way that they were dulled and totally wouldn't ruin your day. The suspension is set up for pleasant everyday use. Obviously, it doesn't soak up the bumps like the really nice luxury cars, but as a comfortable thing that you just live your life in, yeah, the CR-V does it. And the fact that hybrids have come so far that you really don't feel a huge handoff between regenerative braking and friction braking anymore, I think is a testament to the technology. So we'll test the brakes, big stop, well-controlled body, a little bit of dive, but very manageable and most importantly, predictable. So the CR-V has paddle shifters, which you might laugh like, haha, why does a CR-V have paddle shifters? But it's not for the transmission. It is for the regenerative braking severity. And there's a little bit of redundancy here because there is also a B mode, which Honda says is for situations like stop and go traffic or going downhill. Basically, if you were to use just the paddle shifters, you can adjust how much regen braking you have. It's not true one pedal, but it gets pretty close. But as soon as you accelerate, that regen setting disappears. But if you put it in B mode, it kind of already sets it and keeps it in a more aggressive regenerative setting. I also had a chance to try out the adaptive cruise control. This is where it gets a little mysterious to me, because in this car, on these highways, I could not get the lane keep assist to work very well. It was ping-ponging in the cars between the lanes. It would just stop seeing the middle lane. And it was just not very confidence-inspiring, and after a while, I turned it off. And this is confusing because it is a similar system in the Civic that I am daily driving, and I drove that car from Los Angeles to New York. I drove it across the country, basically in cruise control the entire time. Maybe it's just this car on these roads. I'm not sure what it is, but at this point, it seems like the adaptive lane keep settings sort of vary by model. And to go back on something that I started the section with, which is the layout and the ergonomics of the CR-V interior, everything is exactly where you expect it to be. Yes, it has the screen stuck on top of the console, which is not anyone's favorite look. But you know what? It's functional because there is a physical home button, and underneath there are physical dials for the climate. And you can toggle and twiddle as much as you like without taking your attention away from the road. And you look at the CR-V's layout, yeah, you could accuse it of being conservative or at best, worst, I don't know, invisible, but that sort of simplicity is difficult to achieve. And once you have it figured out, don't change it. Just keep it the way it is. Let's go see what that RAV4 has. As mentioned before, I am very excited about the RAV4. Loved the previous generation, so we'll see what this one is like. To start, the steering is a little numb off center, especially at low speed, but once you're going at, say, 45 miles an hour on this nice curvy road, things weigh up nicely and you get a pretty good sense of what the front of the car is doing. Even so, that kind of makes it reasonably fun to drive. I wouldn't say it's sports car levels of enjoyment, but if you wanted to drive this car quickly, it'll do it. Especially if you put it into sport mode, then everything weights up even more and you get even more confidence. This is, of course, a very smooth test track, and most roads in the United States aren't like this, but if you happen to be driving down one that is, the suspension is very nice. It's very smooth, it's very relaxed. However, we did manage to drive it on some public roads earlier and on some pretty gnarly ones too, and I gotta say, those impacts enter the cabin very, very jarringly. It almost reminded me of a body-on-frame truck, if you could even apply that to a compact SUV like this that's meant for everybody. It was just very sharp impacts, and I didn't feel like any of those impacts were mitigated into the rest of the chassis, but directly into my seat. Because it is a hybrid system, there's a lot of low-end power, especially when you're taking off from stop signs and stoplights and things like that. It is by no means a fast car, but you can still do all your merging, your passing, your maneuvers just fine. You won't win any races or light your hair on fire, but it is perfectly adequate at all of those things that you would need to do. The last thing I want to talk about are the ergonomics. Most people are going to be enjoying this car from the driver's seat, and I do appreciate all of the little cubbies here. There are so many places for phones, for items, for water bottles, everything you can think of, it's all right here within reach. That being said, I thought the last RAV4 was fairly incredible in its cabin layout. It was simple, unobtrusive. This one, I don't know what it was, but it seems like the designers tried to remake something that wasn't broken and made everything have a truck theme to it. So there's a lot of just blocky squares and expanses of plastic that don't really seem like they have a point. One of the complaints that you hear a lot in car reviews is, oh, there's a lot of like hard plastic. I never minded hard plastic. I think plastic is weight saving and cost saving, and there's nothing wrong with it. The plastic in this car, however, it's kind of tinny. You know, it feels flimsy.
So there are certain noises that you hear like that don't sound particularly good or quality. And even the steering wheel doesn't feel as good in the hand as some of the other cars in this class. Other ergonomic issues include this little drive mode surround down here by the driver's right knee. I have short legs, so this is not a problem for me, but I have hung out with drivers who are taller, and we drove this car together, and they said that they actually do make knee contact with this little surround over here. Is it enough to turn off buyers who are attracted to the most popular car in the United States? I don't know, but it is a pretty radical departure from what the RAV4 was. So only time will tell if this has an effect on sales figures. This is why this comparison was hard. These two cars were so evenly matched across like all criteria: performance of intended function, technology, engineering excellence. But at the end of the day, the CR-V did edge out the RAV4 by a little bit. And this is what I realized about the RAV4. You are no longer just buying this Toyota for its driving dynamics or its interior. It's for the powertrain now and the associated Toyota reputation for reliability that comes with it. So that's your price. But as a car that normal people like you and me buy, the CR-V is just better. It drives more cohesively, and the interior is better, friendlier, and more convenient to hang out in. Now, we do applaud Toyota for taking a risk with the new RAV4. Risks are always good, but risks also don't always pan out. And so in this case, it makes it obvious that sometimes when you get it right the first time, just leave it alone. So thank you so much for joining us on this comparison, and we will see you on the next one.